I'm Jessi Allender, registered dietitian and professional chef. And there's my guy. And
I'm Flash.
he's Flash. And we are coming to you here from our house on COVID-19 lockdown. A little bit of quarantine for us, but we're all right. On the eve of Pesach, Passover, the Jewish holiday that celebrates my freedom, our freedom from slavery in Egypt a couple millennia ago. And that's how we frame it, becoming free. And so today I'm going to make a traditional dish for us Ashkenazi Jews called gefilte fish. Gefilte fish, my understanding from the Yiddish is it means filled fish. And I've come to decide that you guys are really good at Googling, so I'm not going to Google ahead. This is my understanding, this is what I know, and then if I'm wrong, you're going to post in the comments because I'm wrong, or something like that. So I've got my grinder attachment here for my KitchenAid. I'm going to get that set up. I'm going to put the pusher thrower in. That's all the way in, I think. Yep, and then I'm going to put my blade in. This is the blade that uses, right, little thing, and it goes right on there. And what I'm just going to say out loud is the last time I made gefilte fish, that blade went in the garbage can with the extra fish. And I didn't even realize till a year later I went to make gefilte fish again, because that's when I use my grinding attachment. I could use it more often if I could, but I haven't. So just be careful when you're if you're using a grinding attachment on a Cuisinart, on a KitchenAid. Be careful, don't lose your blade. Let's get on there, bud. Oh, right, there we go. I have to do that part. Untwist the little thingy that keeps it all together. Okay, so that is nice and secure. Good. Yep, and I checked and I saw everything is moving. So what goes into gefilte fish? Well, typically I would use some pike and some trout. And this year I didn't have much access to anything. I bought some fish. Last time I was at Aldi, I bought some rockfish, kosher fish, because it has fins, Pacific wild-caught rockfish. It was a bargain. It was not expensive. That's important to me right now. And so that's what I'm using today. I have some here that I put in the fridge to defrost. So there it is. Doesn't smell at all. That's what you want from fish. You want to make sure it doesn't smell like fish. So I've got 2 fillets of rockfish that have been defrosted. And then one thing I like to do for special fun is to put a little nugget of salmon. So if you caught my sauteed salmon show, here's that leftover salmon. Again, absolutely no smell. And I'm going to cut that into nuggets for the 4 or 5 pieces of gefilte fish that I'm making. And then onion, celery, parsley, carrots, an egg, salt and pepper. And then typically, most people will put in some matzah meal into their gefilte fish. I'm gluten-free, so I am, it's not one of the 5 restricted grains, though many people do not eat rice on Passover. I've got some brown rice that I cooked last night for dinner, so I'm going to use a little bit of that in place of the matzah meal as a binder. So the other thing that we do, so the way I make gefilte fish is I simmer it, and typically I make a really potent gelatinous fish stock. And this year I did not have a chance to buy any fish heads or fish bones to make my gelatinous natural fish gelatin stock. So I'm just going to do some water, a whole bunch of salt. There we go, some salt in the water. And then, okay, great, thank you very much. Woo, everybody wanted to know that. And I'm going to put some celery bones in. Trim that up a little bit right here. Okay, bud, I'll be right there.
I'll entertain saying them.
Okay, don't say anything. I'll be right back.
Hi. Hi. Are you seeing? I should do something. Yay! Yay! I'm going there. I'm going. Bye. No, I also say hi.
Pull your pants all the way up.
Hi, hippity hi.
Careful, it's hot. All right, yay! All right, so back to my fish stock. I've got lots of hats on here, as everybody out there right now during the COVID-19 pandemic understands. Lots of hats, we're all wearing lots of hats. So I've got salt and celery. I'm going to put some onion into my stock. I'm going to leave it nice and whole, just get some flavor out of it. I'm going to put a bay leaf in there. And these carrots are gonna, that's where the carrots are going. So we're just gonna have some flavored, easy stock, and I want to get it simmering here so that when my fish is ground and pattied, I can go it in there. About in 2011, I remember I was dating a fella, you know who you are, and he liked to fry his gefilte fish, and I'd never heard of that before, and it was delicious. I still haven't tried making that, but you know, it's a fish patty, like a fish burger. I'm sure many of you maybe have gotten like the salmon burgers from Aldi or from Whole Foods, and you fry those up, and those are delicious. You know, kind of the same idea. Let me grab my bay leaf. How much do I have? I have just enough bay leaf. It's not Hanukkah, but a miracle is happening here. The bay leaf lasted. I'll get more. No worries. Next grocery run, I'll get more bay leaf. So I've got salt, celery, onion, and some carrot, and I'm going to bring that to a simmer and let those vegetables cook in there a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit more water, filtered water, because this is a stock I'm planning on eating. It's not going to be gelatinous unless this rockfish is something extra special. Put my vegetables away. And then parsley. I'm going to add some parsley to my cooking stock, and I'm not going to add the leaf. I'm going to add some leaf into my grind, but I'm going to take these parsley stems, and there's so much good flavor. This is washed and clean, and there's so much good flavor in these parsley stems, so I want to get that into my fish stock, or my court bouillon. Okay, so the next thing is I'm going to prepare everything that I'm grinding into this bowl. So I need that onion, because the onion is actually, I'm going to grind the onion into the fish, in with the fish. My aunt and my father's brother's wife, who I adore and miss very much, and I'm glad you are safe and sound where you are. She taught us, when we make gefilte fish at her house, to do, I think it was like 1 onion per pound of fish, something along those lines. Feel free to leave me a comment, and then we'll know. So I'm going to cut everything into bits before it goes through the grinder to make the grinder do less work. I like it that way, and I'm going to put everything that's going through the grinder into here. If I was using matzah meal, I would not add the matzah meal in at this point, but since my rice grain is just a little bit bigger than my grinder holes, I am going to do that. I'm going to reserve the salting for later and the peppering for later, and since this is going to be my last use of this cutting board, I'm going to go ahead and cut my fish on it directly. I'm going to cut a little bit of salmon. I'm going to get the salmon prepared to go into the middle, and there might be a little bit extra. So with the salmon, I'm going to take it off the skin. I could pull out my slicer knife, but I'm just going to use this knife. I'm going to take it off the skin. I'm going to get myself a little finger hold over here. so I can hold on to the skin, and then I'm going to get my knife in here. There we go. I'm holding the fish skin with my fingernail. Give me some traction there. There we go. Oop. I left a little bit too much on here for my taste, but that's okay for this application. Like I said, I could have gotten out my slicing knife because I'm going to put that in to get ground. And I'm going to cut this bit off to get ground. And then this bit, there we go. These little ones, I'm going to make about 5 gefilte fish with salmon inside it. And so I'm just going to have my 5 little bits. And I'm going to set those aside until it's time to form the patties. And then my rockfish, those fillets would actually go into my grinder really nicely, just the way they are. Turn the heat down on the stock a little, but I'm still going to cut them into bits like that. Put them in my bowl here, and then I'm going to see if I think I have enough rice in there. You need a little bit of a binder because there's going to be an egg in that goes in later, and so you want to have a little bit of starch in there. That's what the I think I need 1 more spoon, and then I'll be done. I'm not going to touch this rice bucket. Just going to get the spoon. All right, good enough. Okay. Good, so now I've got this mess of fish, onions, rice, ready to go into my grinder. I've got a patch bowl right here. All right, so I'm going to turn that on. And be careful because that's moving. And I'm going to go ahead and grind my fish. In just a minute, buddy.
Can I do it?
Yeah, get your stool. Get his stool.
How do I do it?
Okay, holding on with hands. You can't reach it, I don't think. Here you go. Good job.
Mama, how did you even do that?
It's a grinder.
But how do you get that out of it?
It just does it, okay? It goes around and around and around. Pushes it all through there and it comes out all ground up.
Can I go watch now?
Yes, you sure can. So gefilte fish, meaning filled fish, and what I wanted to say about that also is that it's a poor person's fish. When there wasn't access to a whole bunch of fish, but you had Pesach coming and a whole bunch of people coming over, maybe you take some pike or some bony fish, some carp, which is hard to cook, but if you grind it up and get the bones out, then it can be tasty, delicious fish for the family to enjoy for a special occasion. I've seen pictures of gefilte fish that were like a whole fish, like a whole trout or a whole salmon, filled, with the middle part filled with, in between the two fillets, with a forcemeat like this. So here it is, all ground up, rich and delicious. To that, I'm going to wash my hands and I'm going to season. My stock is simmering over here, beautiful. My fish is all ready to get mixed together. I'm going to season it. I've got some white pepper. I've got some salt. And then I'm going to take a little bit of my parsley. Some of this, of course, I'm reserving for my table. And I'm just going to get that chopped up. Food coloring stain. For anybody that's out there about to invest in a knife, do it. Invest. I need to invest in additional knives, but I'm just going to say that this knife I got when I went to culinary school. I started in culinary school in 1989, so there you go. It's perfect, wonderful. It's not the sharpest knife. It's a good knife. So here is my gefilte fish forcemeat with my rice. I'm going to add an egg, like I said. I need my egg bowl. I like to crack my egg into a separate dish, just to make sure I don't get any shells. Okay, so that egg is going to go in. Beautiful. On our Passover Seder, I like to eat this, or anytime, whenever I eat gefilte fish, I like to make it with, to eat it with horseradish. And that's what I'm going to be my next up video. Just remember, look down at the bottom of your screen. You can hit the red button and hit subscribe to my video channel. We're doing cooking nutrition connections. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm calling it. In order to divide a mash up into even parts, I like to just do a little math. Divide it in half. Divide it in half. In my bowl. I actually said I was going to do 5, right? So that's 4. Oops. So I'm going to take my corners to make a 5th until it looks about even. Got Christmas music coming off the TV in the living room. Yay! But you know, Pesach, for a lot of Jews, it's our big important holiday. I know we get a lot of support, and people are always interested in what my family's doing for Hanukkah when it's Christmas time, because their family's doing something big for Christmas, or our friends who celebrate Christmas. I just wanted to put out there that Pesach, Passover, this is the big holiday. This is the one that there's a whole bunch of prep for, and right now with everything that's going on, it's hard to be with family, and it's just a really hard holiday for anybody. So if you don't typically celebrate Pesach, but you've got friends or family that are Jewish that do, it'd be a great time to reach out to them and say hello and say, have a Zizin Pesach, have a wonderful kosher Pesach. I know mine is, my way. But it's really quite important. And every year we celebrate our freedom from slavery in Egypt. Because when we were slaves in Egypt, life was hard. And now we're free. And we treasure it. And I treasure it. I treasure my freedom. And I treasure everybody's freedom. And that's why I get fair trade sugar. And why I buy fair trade chocolate. And why I try to get sustainable fair trade fish, though I doubt this was fair trade fish. It was too cheap for that, but I needed it to be inexpensive. So, gefilte fish, they're in the pot, they're simmering. I'm going to wash my hands and turn the heat up. I totally forgot to put my salmon in. Thanks for catching that. Can she do it? Just going to do it like this. Going to put that salmon in right there. I totally forgot. I've got quarantine brain pretty bad, people. I'm just going to put my salmon. I was going to have those right in the middle, but I totally forgot. I make mistakes all the time. I try to learn from them. I'm going to keep this over a low heat, and I'm going to let them cook for about half an hour. There we go. I did it, even in a pot of simmering broth. I'm going to let them cook until they're fully cooked and tender in this broth, and I'm going to keep them in the broth in the hopes that they will gel, which they're not going to because they don't have any bones in there. I'll correct my salt when the time comes, but meanwhile, thanks so much for watching all the way through. I really enjoy making these videos, making cooking nutrition connections. This is an any day dish if you want. It's low in fat, it's great fish, it's nice and tasty. You can use any fish. It's better if you get a bone stock with some fish bones and fish heads and cook that ahead of time and then just use the broth, or you can do it right on the vegetables right at the same time. It's a little harder to get them out. I'll show you that. But I'm really enjoying. So I'm going to wash my hands and I'm going to cover this and I'm going to say goodbye. Thanks so much for checking in. I'm Jessi Allender, registered dietitian, typically work in pediatrics, but here I am, and professional chef. Take care, everybody.